In a time when the foundations of the nascent Islamic civilization were being shaped on Arab lands upon sound scientific bases, built on experimentation and evidence, through which it eliminated the ancient myths that explained the universe's secrets with an authority that accepted neither doubt nor interpretation, and where knowledge was transmitted without scrutiny. A child was born in the city of Basra, beside the Tigris River. The child's heart was glowing with hope, filled with faith, and charged with determination, as if the Tigris were pouring into him the light of truth that hid beneath his soft skin. The child carried a simple question in his mind and a light in his insight whose essence he did not yet know, unaware that the answer to that question would change humanity's understanding of the universe and establish the birth of the theory of light, which would take man into the depths of the sky. That child was Al-Hasan Ibn Al-Haytham, possessor of piercing vision and a brilliant mind. From his youth, Al-Hasan did not spend his time playing like the rest of his peers in the alleys filled with the scent of spices and the noise of vendors. He loved listening to the roar of the water, spending hours staring at it, observing the light on its surface and wondering, why do I see my image reflected on the surface of the water? And why do I see the sun's disk in the depths of the water? He was not looking for the easy answer repeated by the tongues of the common folk. Rather, he was searching for the truth, which he realized was not in what the people around him were saying. He contemplated the geometry of the universe with an eye that was not satisfied with just looking, but with an insight that saw a precise creativity worthy of diving into the depths of its secrets. While children played, he would draw a circle on the sand with the compass of his imagination, trying to decode the angles at which light falls. He was with his mother one morning on the bank of the Tigris, and while the children were playing near the water, he remained staring at the reflection of the sun on the water. When she saw him preoccupied, she asked,
"Oh, Hassan, why do you always sit alone?"
"Oh, Mother, why does the shape of the sun change in the water?"
"You will know that when you grow up. My son, I fear that this light might steal you from us and from yourself, for he who chases the sun may forget the path of the earth."
Ibn Al-Haytham grew up, and his curiosity grew with him, and his perceptions expanded. He studied mathematics, astronomy, and philosophy, and read the books of ancient scholars such as Euclid and Pythagoras. But one thing distinguished him from others. He did not believe everything he read. Instead, he always asked, "Is this true?" He spread the books before him on his library table and applied his mind to Al-Khwarizmi's book, Al-Jabr wal-Muqabala, and Thabit ibn Qurra's book, Geometry. Then said, "Just as Thabit was entrusted with correcting some of Pythagoras's books, I have been entrusted with the knowledge of linking algebra to geometry. I have seen this as a necessity among the requirements of correct measurement. When I measure the height of a mountain, I am obliged to use Al-Khwarizmi's algebra and Thabit's geometry. But they are separate twins. I must unite them so that the foundations of geometry may be straight for those who come after me." Al-Hasan began merging the two books in his own book, the Compendium on the Principles of Arithmetic. During this, he observed the refraction of a sunbeam on his bookshelf and cried out, "This is the refraction I mean, and that is the angle of refraction. To measure this refraction, I need to use algebra and geometry." Al-Hasan would look into the corners of his library and see nothing but angles, lines, and mathematical equations. The sun of Basra was pouring its flame over the narrow alleys. But for Al-Hasan, it was not merely heat. It was a puzzle that occupied his mind and the light that dwelt in his pupils. In a far corner of the paper seller's market, where the scent of ancient ink and the fragrance of paper brought from Samarkand wafted, Al-Hasan stood fascinated before a thread of light penetrating through a hole in the roof of the dilapidated shop. He slowly extended his hand to intercept the path of the light, watching how the dust particles danced in the beam before colliding with his palm. He did not see just the hand, he was observing an embrace between matter and light. He kept moving his fingers right and left, and the beam of light wrapped around the edges of his skin, and the shadows of his hand on the ground mimicked every pulse of its movements with amazing precision. Suddenly, a hoarseness of a voice he knew well interrupted his train of thought.
Are you still chasing ghosts, O Hassan? The sun has tilted towards sunset, and you haven't left your place since the noon prayer.
He felt particles of happiness dancing in the depths of his soul. He turned toward her. It was Lubna, carrying a bundle of aged yellow paper in her hands, with a wide smile on her lips and the spark of intelligence and the intoxication of love in her eyes. She saw in Al-Hasan that glow which no one else saw, despite his long distraction from the noise of the market, as if he lived in a parallel world. He answered her, his voice coated with a tone of frustration.
O Lubna, Euclid says that the eye sends out a beam to see. But if that were the case, why do we see distant stars in a sudden moment, yet we cannot see in the darkness of night? Why does my eye tear and force me to break when the gaze of the sun touches it, if I am the source of light? The eye is a victim of light, Lubna, not a maker of it. The time has come, Lubna, for me to declare my rebellion against Euclid, for truth is not owned by the ancients alone. I have gathered the algebra of Al-Khwarizmi and the geometry of Thabit ibn Qurra and linked them together in a new methodology. I will prove to the world that light travels in straight lines through the power of algebra and the precision of geometry.
Lubna approached him, gently placing the manuscripts in his hands.
Perhaps because the truth, my friend, is not always in what the predecessors wrote, but in what overflows from your heart and what your hands touch. My father says you sacrificed your position in the Diwan because of these questions. So is the light worth all this trouble?
Rather, it is worth more. I feel a call in my chest, drawing me toward the Nile. They say there is a ruler in Egypt looking for minds that tame the impossible, and I need a place that can accommodate my scientific madness. I will tame the Nile with the calculations of algebra and geometry that I merged here in Basra. I will build a dam where measurement does not err.
Lubna fell silent, and a deep glint of sadness appeared in her eyes, as if she were trying to hold back a tear that insisted on appearing.
So it is departure, O Hassan?
It is so, Lubna. I will leave the warm shadows of Basra to chase the mirage of light in the sky of Cairo.
But darkness will envelop my heart as the shadows of confused questions envelop yours.
He sighed with sadness, picked up his pen dipped in the ink of sleepless nights, and wrote on the edge of a white paper his sentence that would change the face of science.
I will go, Lubna, but remember, no matter how much distances scatter my radiance, the reflection of your face in my heart is the only light that does not break. I will return to you victorious with the light of truth, or I shall perish without it.
Rather, you will return to me carrying the banner of truth. I am sure of that. And I will endure the frost of separation waiting for your return to me. I have locked my heart, and it shall not be opened for anyone but you.
It was not long before the caravan packed its loads, but Al-Hasan's heart refused to bid farewell to Basra without leaving a part of himself in the house of Sheikh Saad the paper seller. That house which was a storehouse for the world's secrets written on paper and skins. With steps killed by the bitterness of farewell and revived by the longing to embrace the light under the sky of Cairo, he went there to say goodbye. At the doorstep, the scent of linden blended with the aroma of ancient ink,
but what seeped into his chest was the scent of memories. He wondered to himself, is the seeker of certainty destined to pay it with his heart? In the courtyard of the house, Lubna was sitting among piles of astronomical manuscripts. She was not just a copyist, she was conversing with the stars drawn on the parchment with the ink of her insight. Al-Hasan stopped in amazement when he saw her correcting a number in the margin of an ancient astronomical manuscript, and he asked her in astonishment,
O daughter of the Sheikh, do you dare to modify what the greats have placed in the calculations of the spheres?
Is this not the truth that made you choose distance and estrangement from me? If the sky is clear in the heart of the night, why should we be satisfied with the calculations remaining foggy in the bellies of books? Science, Hassan, is not a ritual we repeat, but a truth we live.
Al-Hasan approached closer, spreading his hand under a beam of sun filtering through the vine trellis to paint a picture of light and shadow on her clothes.
They say light comes out of us, but I see it now falling upon you to increase your beauty. So what do you see?
I see a traveler who is not satisfied with shadows and has girded his loins to chase the light. I have seen in your drafts how you gathered Al-Khwarizmi's equations with the drawings of Thabit ibn Qura to demolish Euclid's illusions. You are no longer just a scientist, but an engineer who reads the language of light with numbers and angles. He who chases the truth like you, Hassan, needs someone who believes in his insight before his sight.
Al-Hasan felt that her words were not just a farewell, but the fuel that would light for him the darkness of the long road to Egypt. He looked at her with gratitude.
Do you still keep that paper?
Yes, and I will wait for your return as long as my soul pulses with life.